The American people are a welcoming and generous people. But those who enter our country illegally and those who employ them disrespect the rule of law. And because we live in an age where terrorists are challenging our borders, we cannot allow people to pour into the U.S. undetected, undocumented, and unchecked. Americans are right to demand better border security and better enforcement of the immigration laws.
The number one responsibility of a sovereign nation is to protect its borders. If it can't, it essentially can't be a sovereign nation. And if we can't protect our borders, and we have people who are threatening us not as a traditional national power, but as a secretive transcontinental terror network that relies on stealth in order to infiltrate itself into our society, and the violent jihadists among them to commit mass murder attacks, then border security becomes the whole ballgame.
I think the fact that we are not securing our border is criminal. It is the first responsibility of the administration, of the president and the administration, to protect Americans. We're not protecting Americans the way we're letting that border go unpatrolled.
The Arizona desert is littered with evidence of illegals coming from countries that are known enemies of the United States.
The Department of Homeland Security has just confirmed the discovery of a book celebrating suicide bombers found in an Arizona desert just north of the U.S.-Mexico border.
This Arizona rancher doesn't want to be identified. This Muslim prayer rug was found on his ranch.
You come to find out people with Arabic descent and also Somalis. So it is not just people coming here to the United States to find a job. It's about people coming here that are, you know, for nefarious reasons.
Some agents over in the Naco area found 4 Arabic passports. They had been trailing this group, trying to catch them, and the aliens made it to the loadout point and got loaded out before the agents got there. Well, they found these 4 passports in Arabic, and I don't remember whether they figured out what country they were from or not, but it was after 9/11. They called the FBI in Sierra Vista and talked to an FBI agent. They told her about these passports and the other stuff that they found that were with it. I don't know what other stuff was with it, but apparently it was all in some backpacks. And the agent wasn't interested and said, well, you know, next time you come to town, drop it by the office and we'll take a look at it.
According to Border Patrol estimates, between 2010 and 2011, only 5% of the individuals known to be crossing the border illegally were apprehended.
The truth of the matter is we don't know how many people are coming into the United States, period. Much less how many of them are from the Middle East. Are people from the Middle East coming in? Yes, we know that because we catch them. Does Department of Homeland Security put that on the front page of the paper every month? No. Why not? Because they don't want us to know. Try to get that information, see how easy it is.
In an attempt to address border security and confront illegal immigration, the Arizona legislature passed Senate Bill 1070. When it became law, it was considered the toughest anti-illegal immigration act ever passed by a state in U.S. history.
Our citizens have a constitutional right to the expectation of those laws being enforced, to be protected from those who break our laws. That's their right, not just is it a nice thing to do.
Senate Bill 1070 has received national and international attention and has spurred considerable controversy and debate, especially from the Department of Justice and the Obama administration.
You know, they said we needed to triple the Border Patrol. Or now they're going to say we need to quadruple the Border Patrol. Or they'll want a higher fence. Maybe they'll need a moat. Maybe they want alligators in the moat. they'll never be satisfied.
Arizona acted in a way that is not only consistent with federal law, it seeks to bolster federal law. What the Obama administration's position is that a state doesn't have to be consistent with federal law, it has to be consistent with executive branch policy.
That Arizona uses its constitutional police powers to protect its citizens, to defend the rule of law, and we get sued by our own government. This is the first time in the history of the United States that I'm aware of that a sitting president has sided with 4 nations to sue its own citizens.
And the thought that you would take them to court over it, and the reason that the rationale of taking them to court over it is that we, the executive branch, don't want to enforce immigration law, and by enforcing it, you are interfering with our policy of non-enforcement that, by the way, is endangering your citizens. The thought that you would take a state to court over that, it's repulsive.
And the federal government has some very clear responsibilities to secure and protect our borders, which they're failing to do. So therefore the states must do that to protect their people. And when you talk about different parties, I mean, some people want to see the cheapness of labor, and other people want to see a voting electorate bloc that will keep them in control. But we've got to think about what's best for this country overall.
These are bad guys coming across. There's nothing to stop these guys from entering that country on that southern border. It is absolutely open if you know the routes, if you have the money to access guides or the equipment to get through. That is the easiest border to access.
323 miles of the 376-mile Arizona-Mexico border has some fencing. However, few physical barriers exist that actually prohibit crossing. The largest open area in the West Desert is the Tucson sector.
I can't go into specific investigations, but we've had investigations that we know that elements of the Hezbollah are here, and certainly coming across that border, which is totally porous, they would not have much difficulty in getting here in some numbers.
Over 50% of all illegal entries into this country come through Arizona, and if you will, the San Luis Nogales port of entry area.
In an attempt to confront this overwhelming trend, thousands of new border guards were hired. However, the Department of Homeland Security may have unknowingly employed individuals willing to compromise border security.
Most of the agents that are working today have very little experience. They were hired in a hurry. They were hired without background checks. We're pretty sure some of the people they hired are connected with the cartels. Anybody that knows anything about defeating any type of law enforcement effort knows that information and informants are invaluable. And if they've got informants on the inside of the Border Patrol or the inside of the Customs Service or the inside of Homeland Security anywhere, one of those people can erase the work of 100 men in just a very few minutes.
Is it your belief there are those people?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, they're there.
Increasing corruption along the border has been traced as far back as 2004. According to the Los Angeles Times, since then, more than 130 border guards have been indicted or convicted on corruption-related charges.
Border corruption impacts national security. A corrupt DHS employee may accept a bribe for allowing what appear to be undocumented aliens into the U.S. while unwittingly helping terrorists enter the country.
Nobody's afraid of the federal government. They know the green light that's been turned on by this administration. They're releasing them by the thousands after they're in custody. They're refusing to enforce the law. Nobody's afraid of this federal government.
These groups allow them to operate freely in our neighborhood, and they're getting closer to our doorstep. And if we don't do something about it and really get serious about it, then, again, I don't want to sound too crude, but I think there's going to be hell to pay at some date in the probably not in the not too distant future.
The center of this activity is from the Revolutionary Guards. They have long been involved in drug trafficking, and money laundering. They have expanded this activity into Africa, into Latin America. They used
to do, but he was on his way to Chicago, Illinois.
We know there's a lot of drugs coming across, but what else is coming across? Now that we have terrorist organizations in Mexico working with drug cartels, what are they bringing across our border, and what are they going to do with the things they bring across our border?
4 أرطال من الأنثراكس، 4 أرطال، جنطة هالكبر هاي يشيلها واحد فدائي ويدخلها من أنفاق مكسيكو إلى الولايات المتحدة كفيلة بقتل 330,000 أمريكي.
The idea of a mass murder attack is mass murder. That's what they're trying to accomplish. And there's no question that if they had the opportunity to do it, they would do it.
They're thinking about it. And I believe they're doing it. And I think there's ample evidence that they're bringing contraband across this border that is meant to do us harm.